What's up with y'all? I know y'all can hear it from the mic. It's clear as day. Beautiful. I got a new one. I got the wired earbuds. Only one of them work for real. In the bottom right, I know you can see it's almost 2 a.m. We got Whores of Disneyland. I'm not gonna lie, just before this video, I had to fucking delete a video because my dumbass webcam right there, the one sitting right next to the actual camera, it wanted to do some bogus shit and freeze my camera in the middle of filming. So I'm gonna film this one and I'm going to sleep. I wanted to go to sleep after the other one, but I hope y'all like the let me know what y'all think about it in the comments. There was an Epcot hostage situation.
On the evening of Saturday, September 12, 1992, Alan Ferris walked through the front gates of Epcot. He was 37 years old. He was dressed like anyone else, blending in easily with the thousands of tourists moving through the entrance plaza that night. He did not look dangerous, didn't even look out of place. He simply looked like another guest carrying a bag. At that time, getting into a Disney park was a frictionless experience. There were no metal detectors. There were no security tents and no mandatory.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm sorry. Who is this by? This guy already, I'm subscribing. This is an amazing video already. I'm in the first 1 minute.
You would park your car, presented a ticket at the turnstile, and walked right in. Alan walked into the park carrying a dark duffel bag, and inside that bag was a fully loaded 12-gauge sawed-off shotgun and a handful of extra shells. He would navigate through the crowds of families, walking past the ambient lighting, the carefully maintained flower beds, and the popcorn carts. But he was not there to ride anything. He was there to find a specific woman. By the late summer of 1992, Alan's personal life had entirely unraveled. He had recently gone through a severe, messy breakup. His ex-girlfriend, working as a security guard inside Walt Disney World. The separation had broken him. He was unable to let the relationship go, and over the course of several weeks, his behavior had become desperate and erratic. He stalked her, harassed her. He had already survived a suicide attempt in the wake of the breakup. His actions escalated to a point where his ex-girlfriend went to the local authorities for protection. She filed for and received a legal restraining order against him. The court order was meant to be a hard physical boundary, a legal mandate requiring him to stay away from her home, and her place of work. But a restraining order is just a piece of paper, and it only works if the person it targets still cares about the consequences of breaking the law. But as for Alan, he had reached a point where he no longer cared about jail time, fines, or his own future. He knew exactly where she worked. He knew her shift schedule. He even knew the layout of the theme park. A theme park operates on the unspoken assumption that the real world, that with its domestic disputes, its violence, and its unpredictability, cannot cross into the theme park. Guests and employees naturally assume that they're inside a protected bubble. Alan carried his bag through the crowds, walking right past the invisible boundary of the restraining order, bringing a deadly weapon directly into the place where she was supposed to be the most secure. A theme park completely.
My bad, I got a dumbass ad. My fault, I keep looking at the other camera. If you got an ad blocker, please put it in the comments.
Transforms after the sun goes down and the closing announcements begin. The cheerful background music continues to play from the hidden speakers. The noise of the crowd slowly drops away, and as Epcot officially closed for the night, the operations team began their standard routine. The rides were powered down. The maintenance crew began dragging out the hoses to wash the walkways, and the security guards began their nightly sweeps to ensure all the guests had left. But Alan had not left. He had stayed inside the park, lingering in the shadows near the pavilions, waiting for the crowds to thin. He was eventually spotted as unarmed Disney security guards were doing their exterior sweeps. They saw a man lingering in an area that was supposed to be clear. They approached him, likely intending to tell him the park was closed and guide him toward the
Like a creep weirdo.
front gates. But Alan did not wait for them to speak. He unzipped his bag and he pulled out his 12-gauge sawed-off shotgun, racked the slide, and leveled it at the approaching guards. And he pulled the trigger. The blast echoed violently across the empty concrete of the park. He pumped the shotgun and fired again, scattering the unarmed guards. He fired 3 times in total, but he actually didn't hit them. But he didn't need to. The deafening sound of a shotgun was enough to force the guards to dive for cover and scramble for their radios. With the guards falling back, Alan retreated.
I'm really glad they did not get shot.
He moved quickly into the Journey into an Imagination pavilion. It was a massive structure, defined by striking geometric glass pyramids, designed to celebrate creativity and childhood wonder. And now, with the interior lights dimmed and all the guests gone, it was just a quiet, echoing building. Alan slipped inside through a set of doors and moved into one of the pavilion's public restrooms on the first floor. The space was bright. The fluorescent lights buzzed softly overhead. He stood in the quiet room, chambered a fresh.
And like I said in the fucking other video that, got deleted, we finna learn this microphone together. You know what I'm saying? I'm still learning. I don't know if I'm loud, quiet. We finna learn this together, I'm telling you. Alright, so don't get mad at me.
Fresh round and waited in the silence. Not everyone in the park knew what had just happened outside. While the exterior guards were radioing in the active shooter situation, 2 other Disney security guards were already inside the Journey to Imagination pavilion during their routine sweeps. In the early 1990s, Disney security guards were entirely unarmed. They only carried radios and flashlights, and their primary training was in customer service. The 2 guards walked through the doors of the pavilion and pushed open the door to the public restroom. They expected to find empty stalls, and then move on to the next building, but as they opened the door, they walked directly into the barrel of a sawed-off shotgun. Alan Ferris was standing under the bright fluorescent lights, his feet planted, the weapon being leveled squarely at their chest. The guards froze, their hands went up instinctively, their mouths went completely dry. Staring down the massive dark bore of a 12-gauge shotgun from just a few feet away is an image that the brain struggles to process, especially when it happens inside a brightly lit restroom at Epcot. Alan backed him into the corner against the cold tile wall. He didn't ask for their wallets. He didn't ask for keys to the building. He kept his gun steady, stared at the 2 men, and gave them a single very clear order. He told them to use their radios. He ordered them to contact dispatch immediately and demand that his ex-girlfriend be brought down to this exact restroom. Standing just feet away from Alan, keeping his eyes locked on the gun, one of the guards slowly reached down to his belt, his hands shaking violently, unclipping the radio, and spoke into it, the man's voice echoing off the tile walls. He relayed the situation to the Central Security Office, telling him that they were trapped inside the restroom by a man holding a shotgun pointed at them, and he told them exactly who the man was demanding to see. Disney security immediately knew that they could not handle this internally. They locked down the immediate perimeter. They located the female guard Alan was asking for and secured her in a room on the other side of the property, far away from the pavilion. Of course, they were not going to give him what he wanted. And then they picked up their phone and called the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Within minutes, the perimeter of Epcot was completely swarmed. Heavily armed sheriff's deputies poured onto the property. Police cruisers completely surrounded the perimeter. Even SWAT officers, and they would form a tight tactical perimeter around the pavilion. The massive glass pyramids of the building reflected the strobing red and blue lights of the police vehicles parked on the concrete outside. It was now the early hours of Sunday, September 13th. Inside the bright tiled restroom, the passage of time slowed down to an agonizing crawl. The hostage portion of the standoff lasted roughly 10 minutes, but for the 2 guards backed against the wall, it felt like hours. They were trapped in a windowless box. Every sound in the room was magnified. They could hear the heavy, nervous breathing of the man holding the gun. They watched Alan's hands constantly, watching his finger resting on the trigger guard. A sawed-off shotgun is heavy, and holding it chest height takes a physical toll. Every time Alan shifted his weight, every time his arm got tired and the barrel dipped or raised a fraction of an inch, the guards flinched, bracing for a blast that would completely tear them apart. Outside, police negotiators established contact, telling Alan they had the building surrounded. They were trying to reason with him and trying to de-escalate the situation. Alan paced in the small space. The manic adrenaline from firing the shots outside was beginning to burn off, leaving behind a heavy, suffocating exhaustion. He was sweating, looking at the door repeatedly, and then back to the two guards, and he started muttering disjointed fragments of sentences, and the minutes dragged on. The sirens had completely stopped, replaced by the heavy organized movements of tactical teams stacking up outside the doors. Alan listened to the sounds outside. The reality of the situation finally settled over him. He had bypassed security, brought the gun inside, fired shots and taken hostages. But the police were absolutely not going to bring his ex-girlfriend to an armed, unstable man. The two guards watched his body language begin to change. His shoulders dropped, the heavy barrel of the shotgun lowered slightly toward the floor, and he stopped pacing. He looked at the two men pressed against the tile. They were just two guys in polo shirts, sweating through their collars, waiting to be killed over a relationship they had nothing to do with. And Alan made his choice. He told the guards to get out, and they didn't hesitate. They backed away slowly, keeping their hands completely visible until they were past the threshold of the door. They walked quickly out of the building, and as soon as they crossed the police perimeter...
Tired, y'all. Like, I'm really tired. I'm so glad that he did that. I'm tired. I'm so tired.
Most people go to a theme park to escape reality. They want the bright colors, the cheerful music, and the comforting feeling that the outside world cannot reach them. But when the crowds leave and the music finally stops, what remains is completely different. Beneath the surface, the park is just a collection of heavy, unforgiving machinery. When the Matterhorn...
And the reason I put these glasses on is because my head was hurting, and these is blue light glasses.
Bobsleds opened in 1959. It was an unprecedented feat of engineering. The designers built a 147-foot artificial mountain out of timber and tubular steel, effectively dropping a piece of the Swiss Alps directly into Southern California. And for decades, it always delivered exactly what it was designed to do, accompanied by the terrifying roar of a Yeti. The Matterhorn wasn't just an attraction, it was a massive, heavy structure relying on gravity and momentum, and it had actually claimed real lives. In May of 1964, a 15-year-old boy named Mark Maples was riding the bobsleds with a friend, but as his car neared the very summit of the mountain, Mark unbuckled his seatbelt and stood up. He lost balance and was thrown from the bobsled, and he fell to the track beneath him. He suffered massive injuries and would pass away 3
But why would he unbuckle his seatbelt and get up?
days later. And then came January of 1980, where a 48-year-old woman named Dolly Young was riding the Matterhorn alone. As her bobsled sped through the pitch-black interior of the cavern, she was somehow thrown from her seat. She also landed directly on the tracks. The interior of the mountain is completely dark, making it impossible for the operators to see what had just happened. Before anyone realized she was missing from her bobsled, she was struck by a trailing car, dying instantly inside the cavern. After each of these tragedies, the ride was shut down temporarily, and minor modifications were made to make it safer. And then the very next morning when the sun came up, the ride would run again like nothing happened. But the mountain also hides another thing. For years, the original Yeti animatronic was an imposing, aggressive figure. It was specifically designed to stun the viewer and give them fear right before the bobsled slipped away into the next tunnel. It was a masterpiece of tension. But as technology advanced, and the machinery eventually breaks down, and when the park finally decides to upgrade to newer, more modern animatronics, the original figures were removed. They're cataloged, wrapped up, and put into storage. And so, there was a backup for the original Yeti, a spare figure, built and kept off site just in case the primary one ever failed. Cast members even called him Harold. And for years, he sat in a massive, poorly lit storage warehouse.
Yeah, I low-key do not care about the mascot, not gonna lie. That was it was a couple good stories. My fault about it, like I said. I just had to get a video out there for tomorrow.